Don't lie about it. Just say, it's just not worth it.
Have you ever asked Melissa? I mean, she won't probably tell you anyway, but.
We're live now, so.
All right.
No, I don't get into that because I don't care. She's not going to tell me the truth anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go.
This is a whole, I have here, Deshaun, I have to open up with some of your recent text messages. And then we're going to get into the show. Oh, what?
I don't know what that means.
Some of the recent text messages that you've sent me.
About the Jets?
Yeah. Then I got some.
Wasn't my doing. Go ahead.
You brought it to my attention.
So we need two boring Jet fucking back-to-back?
Why are they boring? If they're so boring, why'd you send them to me?
Go ahead.
It's a Denver Broncos story anyway.
Oh.
I have Deshaun Watson. I have our 5 QBs not named Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes, or Allen. I have NBA Finals. And I have what is it called? The LIV Tour? Is that what it's called? What is the LIV?
It's supposed to be Roman numeral 54 for 54 holes.
That's dumb. All right. Anything else? Am I missing something?
By the way, nice shirt.
Thank you. I was pretend principal today.
Oh, my God. That's scary by itself.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate the vote of confidence.
Well, I didn't like how you approached me with your recent text messages. We're going to go over.
I'm just saying I think it'd be fun.
And I got 69s.
And 69s, yeah. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I'm Pete Calisano, joined, as always, by my stunningly handsome friend, Scott Bracey. What's going on, dude?
Principal Calisano, how are you today?
Pretend principal, yes. That was my job today, filling in for the boss man.
Anybody got arrested?
No arrests today, but had to smack a few students in the head a couple times, straighten them out, keep that place running properly.
This isn't 1950 anymore, pal. You got to be careful.
Well, here's the thing: you smack in the head so that the hair blocks any bruises.
Absorbs.
Yeah, well, blocks that you can't see any bruises and scratches. So this way, nothing's visible.
That sounds like a Mrs. Calisano special right there.
Listen, I learned all the tricks from my parents. Before we really get into some stories here, and we do have a few, especially Deshaun Watson, there are some updates to that story. Holy shit. There have been some recent texts on your part that I wanted to maybe get into because I say this, I'm sure somewhere in that dark black heart of yours, there was good intentions of, say, maybe just like keeping your Jets fan friend updated on what's going on with the Jets and that kind of thing. I'm not going to lie. There's like a cynical part of me that is thinking, hey, here's a Jet story that I can jam up Pete's ass. Why don't I text this at 11 o'clock at night or first thing in the morning to really get his day off on the right foot? Am I wrong? Or is it all just good intention?
So I believe the one text has to do with both of our teams. So I figured we're doing a service on a program, and I figured gives you something to talk about, which is an interesting thing.
It is. Want to get to that one first?
Yeah, because
why don't you enlighten everybody to the news of the Denver Broncos / New York Metropolitan Jets?
So I even forgot what it was. What, they're going to retire a number or something that day?
Yeah.
What are they doing that day? Hold on.
Whose number was it?
I know. I'm trying to think because I send you so much negative shit.
It is. It's always shit about the Jets. By the way, the second one was even worse. This is just a scheduling thing. And this says more about Denver than it does about you, although you were the one who sent it to me. So,
the Broncos are honoring their 97 Super Bowl. So you're so sensitive that they had a lead in the 98 AFC Championship game. Did you think it was that team?
No, I just.
Oh, okay.
It's just the idea of who they're choosing to.
They're going to honor the 97 team at halftime on October 23rd.
And who they play?
The Broncos host the ugly New York Jets.
Yeah. So what are you? Now that's the only reason you sent it to me because the Denver Broncos are thinking, hey, what a great
that's
opportunity.
Not true because I sent you last year when the Patriots were going to retire Richard Seymour's number against homecoming game the New York Jets.
Right. But you weren't doing it out of kindness. You were doing it out of look what these teams think of your shit team. I can't wait for this game. I'm telling you. Well, before I say I think the Jets are going to have a better season than most think, why don't you tell me about the next text that you sent?
And what would that be, Peter? Let me see.
Oh, what was it about?
The next one was. The next one was.
Was it PFF or was it?
Oh, that was Mr. Rich Cimini, a New York Jets insider, by the way.
He's a dick.
He has projected next year's NFL draft. The first pick being the New York Jets.
Which is saying they're going to be the worst team in the NFL. So they're you're saying they're going to be worse than last year?
Just being a friend. You didn't see it apparently, so I'll just share the news.
What a friendly gesture to send me the news.
And
didn't know if you knew, but your team is projected to be dead last in the NFL.
Two things there, sensitive Sally. One, you should be mad at Rich Cimini.
I am.
Two, they didn't play a fucking game yet, so what are you getting mad for?
Because you sent it with the intention of sticking a hot poker up my ass. That's why.
That's you being just sensitive.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Because you're already sensitive about the Jets' schedule last week.
No, I was on the right side of that one. I don't want to hear about sensitivity.
You're going to lose this argument, pal, because your Jets, you finally feel like you have a good team. You got a good coach.
I didn't say that.
And now there's all this still negativity with the Jets, and you're so sensitive about it.
Go. See what the point I'm making here is, it's everyone else that can't get out of their head.
So let them worry about it, buddy.
I am. But my point here of bringing this up is
your talk.
It's your bad intentions.
Make believe mock giraffes.
Bad intentions of why you sent it to me.
Anybody that knows me knows I don't have bad intentions.
Well, nobody knows you. Nobody knows your inner workings. I do, and I know what this was about. This is about, hey, pal, you're a good friend. Fuck yourself.
You have trouble sleeping at night.
Enjoy these tweets.
You sleep with one eye open? You're very paranoid.
I don't sleep well.
Shocker.
In the news this week and over the last few weeks, this Deshaun Watson situation, you know what's so interesting about this? This is why, we don't talk about it every week, but we probably could because there always seems to be at least some new thing that comes up. What's interesting about this, unlike other issues, a lot of times something comes up and then the real truth comes out later and it's like, oh, that's not exactly what happened, or charges that came up end up getting dropped because, somebody lied, or that's not exactly what happened, or yada, yada. So usually as time goes by, they always tell you get ahead of it and then things soften. Yeah, and then things soften as time goes by. This continues to get worse. This situation continues to get worse. So just a couple details that have come out over the last couple of weeks. From what I understand, now I don't have 100% proof of this, but from what I understand, he tried to pay off the 23, now a 24th. So that one
$100,000 a piece?
$100,000 a piece. No go on that one, by the way. It didn't work. But he tried to give him $100,000 each. On top of that, he had acknowledged that there were, count this, 40 masseuses that he had gone to. Okay. It turns out, as of right now, it's about 66. It's definitely over 60 different massage therapists that he had gone to. Right. And the interesting part of that is his claim, or at least his lawyer's claim, was that this was all due to COVID, that he didn't have access to his normal therapist. Somehow everybody else did, but he didn't. And he was finding other therapists. Except that when you look back at when some of these people are claiming to have been harassed, abused, whatever you want to call it, it was pre-COVID. So that shit doesn't even float. So he lied about how many. He lied about at least what. Well, I don't want to even say he lied about what happened because there's still accusations. All right, we'll leave that up in the air. He lied about how many. He lied about when.
Timeline.
He's lied about the timeline, and he clearly has lied to the Cleveland Browns, and this is why it starts to get interesting because the Browns give him this fucking ridiculous contract. That I swear, every day that goes by and this stays in the news, even if there is no new news, they look worse every single day for doing this. And then I just can't even believe, I think I said to somebody the other day, can you sue your lawyer? Because this lawyer is not helping at all. Okay, so what are at least the two things that I saw amongst?
Hey, Rusty, others. Shut up.
Yeah, seriously. He made some kind of happy ending comment. Did you?
That they're not illegal. Happy endings are not illegal.
Happy endings are not illegal.
Or not a crime or something like that?
Not a crime. I think that wasn't a crime. And the other comment he made was, listen, offending somebody isn't illegal. And it's dude, do you realize that even talking about that makes him sound guilty as hell? You're saying listen, he may have done these things, but they're not illegal. Bro, shut your fucking mouth. The idea is the reason you get a lawyer is so that the The client doesn't have to talk. The lawyer does the legalese. And here you are talking about it, making it sound so much worse. You know what I mean? And I find this friggin' insane right now. Totally insane.
It makes you wonder, is there going to be any more women coming forward? I mean, obviously, 40-plus women.
That he acknowledged, but it's more at 60 plus.
I'm saying 40 didn't have an issue with this situation, but 20 did. It's very sloppy. I agree with you with the Browns. First of all, it's an idiotic contract to fucking anybody, not even with legal issues. They have no one to blame with themselves.
Especially with legal issues.
Yeah, especially with legal issues. I feel like he's going to be suspended a year. I don't know how Goodell, the way he handled the Ray Rice thing and the Brady inflated balls and all the other weird things he did. How do you not give this guy a substantial penalty?
You make such a great point. How many games was Brady suspended for? Was it 4?
4 for footballs. That wasn't even proven anyway.
Yeah, you're going to suspend a guy for footballs being slightly deflated for a half of a game. And by the way, the anti-Brady world went fucking bananas thinking the guy should have been like fucking released by the NFL, which is crazy.
Yeah.
If that's 4 games, what is it for this?
You're right.
Like every day that goes by, it seems like that suspension has to go up.
It's got to be a season. It has to be.
It has to be, right? It just has to be.
And I think you mentioned this last week. Not to mention, you're going to get these protesters in front of it. Oh my!
You gotta, right? You gotta expect that. And then you'll probably get protesters once the season starts because he's on your roster, but he's not. He's probably not going to be playing. And then you'll get him again the following year when he is able to dress and play, and you'll get the protesters all over again. This is what desperation looks like, by the way, which I don't know why Cleveland felt so desperate. I am not the biggest Baker Mayfield fan, don't get me wrong, but I also felt like he was a starting quarterback in the league, and you've gone to the playoffs with him, won a playoff game with him.
On the road. Yeah,
like this was just you know what it feels like? It feels like you had an owner that was like just came over the top of everybody and said, "Get this done. I don't fucking care." Like, get this done.
Look at it this way, folks. I thought this was where you were going to go with it. Denver makes a splash. Miami makes a splash. The Raiders make a splash. The Chiefs make a splash.
Yeah.
And the Browns are sitting there. Why haven't we done anything yet?
Yeah.
What's going on?
But I got to believe that comes from the owner. Because this just seemed like it happened overnight, too. I mean, Cleveland, in fact, if I remember correctly, didn't Watson initially say that Cleveland was a no? Like he wasn't interested in going to Cleveland?
I believe so.
So then they got even more desperate and came over the top. I think he
said no twice.
Yeah, and then they got even more desperate and came over the top with just a ridiculous offer.
Because then we heard Atlanta, because he's from Atlanta. We heard Carolina. We heard New Orleans,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I wanted to ask you like a question about this because I'm looking at this and I'm like, you just made a great point. Like there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 women that haven't come forward, or maybe nothing happened to them. I don't know. Maybe with them he just got a massage, or maybe I got to be honest with you. Like this happens a lot. Women, this is going to sound so shitty, but women have gotten used to. I should say a lot of women have gotten used to a lot of bullshit.
Be careful about
No. I'm being honest. I don't say this in defense of men. I say this actually like in defense of women. Like they have almost learned to deal with a certain amount of bullshit that some guys do,
especially pro athletes.
And they're almost like, I've seen this show before. Why am I going to fucking get involved? Which is an awful thing to think of. To think that you're a female masseuse or a massage therapist, whatever the hell you call it, and like you're just used to guys whipping their dicks out or making like, it actually makes me kind of sad. So maybe that's the case, or maybe he just got the massage from them. But the fact that he was like going on Instagram to find that massage therapists, it's just a really awful look. And the more that comes out, it makes him look worse. Like you think about who he was before this all went down. He was the really good guy, squeaky clean, no issues. Like this is the good guy that you want on your team.
It's a little sleazy.
It's a dirty, sleazy scumbag guy. You know what I mean? And the thing about that is you can't erase that.
And personally, I was a big fan of him coming out of Clemson. I was telling somebody
me too.
I'm like, I love this guy. He's working
Says all the right
houses,
things,
get houses built and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. This is what I'm saying. Like, you can't erase that, dude. Like, Ray Rice was unable to erase the idea. Like, that video is out there forever of him just punching his wife in the face and knocking her out cold. You can't undo that. You know what I mean? You can have all the lectures or whatever he was doing. He went on like a speaking tour of like talking about abuse of women and all this kind of stuff, and it looks great. But in the end, that's what you did, and that's who you are. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's hard to just shake that, and he certainly wasn't able to shake that to get on another team in the NFL. And there's no way, unless all this ends up being dismissed and it was all bullshit and it was all some kind of scam to get money.
That would be an unbelievable turn of events.
It would be a total unbelievable. So we have to say that's a possibility because it's at this point they are just allegations.
Yeah, and listen, and there are no civil suits, so it's just civil suits. It's not legal.
Yeah,
criminal suits. I mean, yeah.
But that could come later. There's nothing that says they can't do that if things come out. You know that the timing on that.
There's a lot of holes here on both sides.
For sure. Well, because of, most of this stuff comes down to he said, she said. The problem is when there's 24 she's. It's a problem. And now here's the other thing, because there's 23, we'll call it, I guess, plaintiffs. Those other women, those 40-something other women, maybe they're not part of the lawsuit. Doesn't mean they can't be witnesses. So if they become witnesses and they're like, oh, yeah, he would just turn over, flop his dick out, start beating himself. Like, good God, man. It's awfully damning when you have that many people. Now, I don't know. Who knows what'll happen then. So the question I wanted to ask you, considering like that there's all these other women, do you think there's any point that the NFL can either nullify the contract or nullify the trade?
I was thinking about that the other day, actually.
Do you think that's even a possibility, or is it like, hey, you made the deal, you got to live with the fact that this guy's who he is, and you decide whether or not you want to cut him? You can't cut him because it's all guaranteed money now. They're so fucked, the Browns. It's so stupid.
That might be the curveball in the equation, because I think when Brady's suspended or DeAndre Hopkins is going to be suspended, but they don't get paid when you hold out. Obviously, you don't get paid. So if he's suspended for a year, they definitely get away from that contract.
But it's just for the year.
But if he's banned from the league or something like that, I don't think Cleveland has any fight to go, listen, we want out now. Too late. You knew what was going on when you traded for him.
To a degree. So what I guess what I'm saying is, now that there's more stuff coming out, now that it looks like he lied about timeline and number of people, they all have these like morality clauses and stuff like that. And there's always the legalese that's in these contracts. And I'm wondering,
the fine print,
the fine fucking print, right? Like with the Cowboys and Denver Broncos on what's his name with the weed tests and all this stuff.
Randy Gregory,
right? Like that's the fine print. We have the right to cut you, and we won't cut you even if you get caught smoking weed. That's the difference, right? The fine print. So maybe there's fine print that says, hey, if this looks worse, if this gets any worse, if there's more, if you're lying about your status here, then I'm just looking at him like, all right. So how about this? Do you think that the Cleveland Browns right now are like rifling through this with like a team of lawyers saying, is there any way we can get out of this shit? Listen, Baker Mayfield, they lost you. Let's say you lost the players that you lost in the trade already in the draft picks, but can we get out of this contract because we still have Baker under contract?
I would probably say there's probably some guys staying up late at night going through some paperwork,
combing through this shit, right? You gotta. Yeah. It's just bananas. It really is it's a hell of a thing. It really is just a hell of a thing. So I don't know. We'll see.
Stay tuned. Next week we might have more info. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure there's more to come out. My guess is you just had another gal come out and say that she was one of them too. My guess is there'll be more. As more comes out, others feel more comfortable saying something. It's just a terrible look. It's a bad look for the league, and it's a bad look for the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, it's a bad look for Deshaun Watson, but it's really like a stain right now. It's like this dark cloud that hangs over the league, yep. And it's a total stain on the Cleveland Browns. It was an unnecessary forced error.
Yep.
It's just an unnecessary when you had a guy. Whether you loved him or not, you had him. If it was Deshaun Watson, squeaky clean Deshaun Watson with none of these problems, it's a whole different story. Then it makes sense. But you knew so much to give him the biggest contract, all guaranteed. What a man. You make your bed, you got to sleep in it, I guess.
Yep.
All right, so I asked you if you could come up with your 5 best quarterbacks in the league, not named Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes, or Allen. So now if you're listening to this on the podcast, feel free to send us your list. And we're going to do this in order because I want to know who number 5, number 4, number 3, number 2, and number 1 are. So if you're listening, send us a comment and give us your 5. By the way, if you do, you get entered into our t-shirt contest, a free shirt with your favorite team on it and it being our logo. All you have to do is comment somewhere on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, any of these places. Leave us a comment and you'll be entered. Also, if you go onto the Anchor app, which is free, and you leave us a voicemail, you get 5 entries into the contest. So it's so easy to do. Plus, we want to hear from you guys. So your 5, let's start with number 5. Who's your number 5 quarterback not named Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes, and Allen? We leave those out, just for the record. We leave those out because those are they're the obvious, seems to me like the obvious top 4 in the league right now. Right? You'd have a hard time putting anybody above them.
No argument here, bro.
You agree? Okay, good. So I just want to start from that point. Okay, so who's your number 5?
Number 5, I got Baltimore Raven quarterback Lamar Jackson. I almost went with Dakota Prescott here, but
really?
I did not. We always say when Lamar's healthy, they're guaranteed almost 10 wins a year.
I would think so.
They're exciting. We talked about last week. They're just so much fun. I think they need a little bit more help around them in the wide receiver department.
And they got rid of one.
Yeah. And they didn't draft one, I don't think, either. So.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah. I actually had him as my number 6. I had him just outside the top 5. So, God, I don't know if you were finished.
No, I'm done.
Yeah, I had him just outside my top 5. So, my number 5 was Derek Carr.
I knew it. I could have bet my balls on that.
I almost put him higher than that, but I couldn't do it any more than that. Which makes him, by the way, a top 10 quarterback. That would put him at number 9, I guess. You know me, I've said it a million times. I think he's underrated. And now you have 2 very good wide receivers, a very good tight end, maybe one of the top 2 or 3 in the league, and you have an excellent running back. I still have some questions about their offensive line, but it's not bad. It's a good offensive line. I don't know how great it is. But this is certainly going to be a year okay, if that for people like you that were not necessarily on a bandwagon, although I think he won you over a little bit last year.
A little bit.
You still don't put him in your top 5. So this is a year.
How do you know?
Well, that's a good point. I can't imagine he's any higher than 5. But this is a year that he has to win you over. You now have Devontae Adams. You have what's the hell's his face?
Mr. Hunter Renfrow,
Waller, Jacobs. This is the higher end version of any rookie quarterbacks who you've now surrounded with talent. You know what I mean? You have to prove it now. You can't use the excuse.
Yep.
We don't have guys anymore. No, you do, and they're pretty goddamn good. So, and I'm a big fan. I could have even made an argument to put him a little higher, but I think I'll wait for that argument for next year. Okay, so Derek Carr, my number 5.
Number 4 for me, Denver Broncos, Russell Wilson. New team, a little resurgence, weapons galore. Line is intact and deep. Run game, again, deep. And a very good defense. Probably, I would definitely go top 10. You could argue top 5 if they weren't playing in such a brutal division.
For sure. Russell Wilson is also my number 4. I brought up to you the idea last week of are we putting too high of expectations on his shoulders because we've never really not since I shouldn't even say since his rookie year. They won the Super Bowl that year, but that was because those 2 years were mainly because of defense. They had the Legion of Boom. So I'm just curious. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying we haven't really seen him be that guy. And frankly, when you put his numbers up against the other guys that are on this list, they're not there like the rest of these guys. So it'll be interesting, but everything you said is 100% correct. You got the weapons, you got the running back, you got the offensive line, you got an offensive head coach, you got a top 10, at worst, top 10 defense, which is more than you need, you to win a championship. I'm not going to judge this based on a championship this year, but they also can't be just a 9-win team. That they have to do better than that for him to win me over. But I've always been a Russell Wilson guy. I just like him. I like the way he plays. I think he's smart. I think he's super accurate. I think he's tough. I think he's a great leader. So I have him at number 4 also.
You're a Russell Wilson guy, except on October 23rd.
Oh my God! I hope he breaks a leg.
Easy there.
All right.
We might have the same three guys here, just a matter of what order we put them in.
I hope the Jets win that game like 35-14. I swear, just jam it straight up your ass sideways. Fuck that Ring of Honor.
I hope you have the number 1 pick. Fuck you.
Bastard.
Number 3 for me is Matt Stafford. Super Bowl champion. Now a ring and a championship to go along with those great Lion fantasy football numbers he put in. Great in the postseason. Was unbelievable. Didn't make many mistakes. And he gave Cooper Kupp an historic year and a lot of money in his new contract.
Yeah. My number 3 was Joe Burrow. To me, what he did, and I just got to look at, like, you go back 2 years, his rookie year, he was looking really good, got hurt. And then if you remember, we talked about it in the offseason, how he even acknowledged that he was a little tentative on the knee and he was a little concerned and all these things. To then take a 4-win team? How many wins did Cincinnati have the prior year? Were they like 4?
Not many, because they picked 5th, but that's how they got Chase.
Yeah, 4 or 5-win team to then go to the Super Bowl. Like, dude, I'm a huge Joe Burrow fan. I have compared him to Joe Montana, and the main reason being, like, he's not particularly big. He doesn't have the strongest arm. There's just something cool about him. He's just Joe Cool to me. Like, he just has that. Montana was the same way. He wasn't particularly big, didn't have a particularly strong arm, but he was really accurate, and he made really good decisions, and he was mobile enough to elude pressure and make big plays. And to me, that's Joe Burrow. Like, he's smart. He very rarely throws to the wrong guy. Super accurate, just mobile enough, to make, elude pressure and then make a big play. Throws the ball really well on the run. To think that, like, a third-year quarterback just like that, boom, after having missed at least half a year the prior year, is the third best quarterback not named those top 4. I think that's pretty goddamn good. I'm impressed with him. I expect nothing but big things moving forward.
Number 2 for me, I got Justin Herbert. Big, strong arm, athletic, makes every throw. He's got weapons around him. We talked about when he got drafted that his Rose Bowl win against Wisconsin was MVP-like, but it was over his legs.
Yeah, he had less than 100 yards passing.
Then he gets in the league. He's throwing the ball all over the place. Ceiling's very high for this kid. I hate that he's in my division, but he's very easy to root for.
He really is. He really is. My number 2 is Matthew Stafford, and I had Burrow and Stafford next to each other, but I got to give the nod to Stafford here. He won the Super Bowl. He was in the same game against Burrow, and he just played a little better. The thing I love about Stafford is we didn't necessarily have questions about his talent last year, but we said, like, first of all, are you asking a lot of a guy who's just coming onto a new team? But you kind of have to, right? Because you gave away a Super Bowl contending quarterback plus a lot of shit plus first-round picks. And anything short of, like, at least the NFC Championship game and really at least making it to the Super Bowl kind of would have been underperforming, I guess, because that's what you brought him in for. He did all that in a friggin', bowl of soup, because he not only did he play really well in a regular season, fantastic. They had a great season, put up monster numbers. He, like, single-handedly made huge plays. Like, this was the one thing where, like, is he big time enough for the playoffs, right? Like, is he, because he's never really been in that situation. And when he did make the playoffs, even when he played pretty well, they didn't win. He did that and more, with the pass against Tampa, with the game against Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. Like, he just played fantastic. He was their MVP to me all year. I know, Aaron Donald this and Aaron Donald that. I get it. But the reason they made the jump to a Super Bowl winning team is because of Matthew Stafford. So I got him as my number 2.
My number 1 is Raiders quarterback Derek Carr. No.
Yeah, right.
Number 1 is Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow. Super Bowl appearance after a torn ACL. Kid has it all. The mental game, the accuracy, the arm strength. You said it all well before. He's got very young, cheap weapons as of now, and a great offensive-minded coach. He is probably creeping up on that top 4 list as we go, as Brady and Rodgers bid farewell.
Yep.
Joe Burrow's future is bright in that AFC North.
There's an argument to be made that he could, if they were to say, if they go to the AFC Championship game again this year, or God forbid, go to the Super Bowl again this year, there's really an argument to be made that he should go past Aaron Rodgers. Unless Rodgers does the same, of course.
I said it to you last week, bro.
Yeah,
I think
unless Rodgers does the same, there's really an argument to be made there because that's, you almost could say like Aaron Rodgers hasn't done that in his entire career with Joe Burrow, except for the win. Aaron Rodgers has the win. I don't know. I would certainly say that at this point, then I would rather have Joe Burrow than Rodgers. So I love him. You make a great argument there. For me, my number one was Justin Herbert. I don't know. I just look at him and I say, if you were to build a prototypical quarterback, like everything you want in a quarterback, I think it ends up looking very similar to Justin Herbert, like tall, thick, strong arm, really smart, very mobile, is a good runner, stupid accuracy. I'm just looking at him like, what doesn't the kid have? I don't know. Maybe there's some leadership, shortcomings there. If he's not quite as verbal as some of the other guys are, he doesn't seem to be like the get in your face, like Brady style, like some of these guys can be. He's not such a rah-rah guy like Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's very rah-rah, like let's get it going, clapping it up, all these stuff. I don't see that from him all the time, but goddamn, man, from like head to toe, there's really, I don't know what else you would want in a quarterback than what you get with Justin Herbert, and plus you think back to his first game, he found out 5 minutes before the game starts. And I think he went out there and threw for over 250 yards. Didn't even think he was going to play that day. So he's just shown it right from the start. He's got great weapons there, great offensive line. They've upgraded on defense. They should have a good season. I have questions about the head coach. I didn't going into last season, but I do now because he caused me to feel that way. But boy, is he fucking good, man. He is really good. He's really good. You make a great point, though. When Brady's going to be done soon and Rodgers is kind of like, he's come to the end of his rope. A couple of these guys are going to have to step up into that spot. It's interesting that we both had like Herbert and Burrow ahead of Matthew Stafford, who just won the Super Bowl.
But he's in his mid-30s too, so.
Seems unfair that we did that to him.
Yeah.
Did you have anybody in mind that you had just outside those five?
Like I said, I had Dak, Carr, probably the top two. Another guy off the top of my head maybe would be, man, I tell you, Tannehill gets no respect, but they just keep taking weapons away from that guy, though, which is
I know, it's so funny. I'll tell you my three. I'll give you my yeah. So my 6, 7, and 8 were Lamar at 6, Kirk Cousins at 7. Yeah. I talk about this all the time. You go look at 30 plus touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions, throws for over 4,000 yards. Guy never gets hurt. He's always available. He always plays. Their defense has stunk the last few years, So,
yes.
And this might surprise some people. Like the next guy I look on that list, because I think he got a little caught in the wash with a bad team the last couple of years. Matt Ryan. I actually think you're going to see over the next 2 years a kind of resurgent Matt Ryan. The Colts are a really good football team, and he's in a position now where he doesn't have to put 50 points up to win a football game. I think he's a little underrated. Yeah, I think he's a little underrated, and I think we're going to see that this year. He's much more of a grown-up than Carson Wentz is, and you're putting him into the same team that had 9 wins last year. I think that's easily 2 more wins. So I could see them winning 11 or 12 games.
Can I ask you an honest question?
Yeah.
Going to our topic to start the show, all the bullshit aside, where do you put Watson?
Deshaun Watson? It's hard, I thought about that, and the only reason I didn't put him on the list is because I really haven't seen him play now in a very long time. Now, at the time, I probably would have had him on this list instead of Derek Carr. Like if we would have done this like 2 years ago, I probably would take Derek Carr out and put Deshaun Watson in. The interesting thing about Deshaun Watson is you look at the guys on this list. Now, Matthew Stafford might be a different case when he was with Detroit. All these guys are winners. They all win. And Deshaun Watson, while he did win, there were also years where he put up monster numbers and they lost.
Yeah.
Now, you could say, well, the team or the coach or whatever, but you don't give that break to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan puts up fucking bananas numbers and they stink, and you take that away from him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't say, oh, Matt Ryan's not as good as Well, Matt Ryan actually went to the Super Bowl when they had a top 15 defense. It wasn't even a top 10 defense. It was a top 15 defense. So when he's had a decent team around him, they've done very, very well. So I think that's unfair. But yeah, my guess is I probably would have had him at 5. Probably at 5 instead of Derek Carr, and I would have backed Derek Carr up to like 6. That's my guess.
Yep.
But right now, it's like an incomplete. It's like not applicable, like it's NA because I don't, you take a year off of anything, man. I don't know. Remember when we talked about this with the COVID year and the kids coming out of college and like, how did it affect them? And like some of them just weren't quite the same. And others, especially offensive linemen seemed to be fine.
Michael Parsons, Jamar Chase were just fine.
Yeah. So it would be not applicable just because I don't know what he's going to look like having not played. It'll be almost 2 years, by the time he steps on the field.
And now you put a new team, new system.
Yeah.
The off-the-field issues, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, because he's going to have a microphone in his face every single day unless they shield him from it.
Can't.
It's going to be unavoidable.
Yeah.
Every time he leaves the stadium, every time he enters the stadium, every time he comes in front of a reporter.
Interview.
Every time. It's going to be unavoidable. And that wears on you, dude. That wears on you. God forbid you lose. God forbid you go on like a 3-game losing streak. That's like, Baker never went on a 3-game losing streak, and you're fucking putting it in girls' asses and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it'll wear on him. So I can't put him on this list until I see that he's back to what he was before. So that's that. Good stuff. I think we had kind of similar. I have Derek Carr a little higher than you do, but more or less.
I have
you
Lamar
and I.
We
we flipped Carr and Lamar basically.
Burrow, I'd go a little higher.
Yeah, that's where it's like, you can argue it. It's interesting that you have Burrow ahead of Stafford when Stafford just won the Super Bowl against Joe Burrow.
That's basically just an age thing for me.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. That makes sense. Yeah, because the Stafford of all of them, well, Russell Wilson is near the back of the list too, and he's a little older.
Yeah.
It is interesting, though. NBA Finals?
Celtics go up 2-1 last night. I got to be honest with you, I watched the first quarter and the third quarter, and I kind of went MIA second and fourth. The Warriors have a problem here. We both picked the Warriors. Although Clay's been improving, he had a good game last night. He's not as much as they need from him. Poole had a great game too, but bad game 1 and game 3. Draymond has become.
Poole only had 10 points. Yeah, you said it. Game 3. Yeah, he had 10 points last night.
Draymond has become an absolute thug, and now that shit was all fun and gravy
when you're winning.
When they were winning, and he was talented. Now his basketball skill has diminished almost to a point where you can't keep him on the floor anymore. I mean, you have young guys off the bench that are more athletic, less of a headache.
I think it was Perkins who does some analysis for ESPN. Big Perk. He goes, and I actually think there's some validity to this. He said, I feel like Draymond was more prepared for his podcast after the game than he was for the game.
Was that weird?
It kind of looks like it, right? It looks like you were just ready to jump ship and go do your podcast. Like it looks like he's. I think there's been rumors, or it's already been kind of settled that he's going to be on the TNT crew once he packs it in. And I think it'd actually be a great gig for him, and I think he'll do that for the next 40 fucking years. But it does look like he's already in that mindset. Like the game's over and you're doing
almost
a podcast.
Too much.
Yeah, it just seems a little odd. So yeah, that's a bit odd. Yeah, it's interesting about Clay because he put up 25 points, but it almost seemed like, how do I say this properly? I don't want to say they were unnecessary points, but they weren't necessarily like in big spots. Like when they would make a run. When they would make a run and they're trying to close in, it wasn't Clay that was hitting shots. Those are the times that he was actually clanking shots. It's weird. It was a quiet 25. We'll call it something like that. It was like, oh, he got 25. No shit. I didn't even realize he was playing kind of thing. Like when it was important, he wasn't there. And then other times, not that any basket.
I'll tell you this. The Celtics are deeper. They have more of a team game, especially Tatum. Tatum's great. Don't get me wrong.
No doubt about it.
But he hasn't been a superstar in this series yet.
You're right.
And Jaylen Brown has been unbelievable.
Well, we talked about this. Yeah, we talked about this before the series. Like we said, for Golden State to win this series, Steph has to be great. And if Steph is not great, I don't mean just good. If Steph is not great, they can't win, period. But we also said the interesting thing about the Celtics is that Tatum doesn't necessarily have to be great if Jaylen Brown is great. And if Jaylen Brown isn't great, then Tatum can be great. And if this one isn't, then Marcus Smart can just take over a game because he just gets
Horford was great in game one, and
the other kid, the big kid in the what's his name?
Williams.
Williams. Yeah. I tell you what, man, when he's not on the court, it's a different thing. Like they can attack the rim.
Dude, he blocks shit from like 12 feet away. It's unbelievable.
This is what's so interesting, right? You look back with like the Bulls and stuff, and you say, well, how necessary was Rodman? Oh my God, Rodman was so necessary because he did the shit that nobody wants to do, and it's that grinding stuff. And that's not that this guy is Rodman.
Well, that was Draymond Green 5 years ago, and that's gone away.
Right,
now.
all the grinding shit, and that's what this dude Williams is playing like right now. Like when he's on the court, man, they're just like a totally different defensive team. And then when he goes off the court, the rim is open. It's open for business. You can take – so he's so valuable in that case, in that sense. Like it's really something else. But it is interesting how like different games, different people for Boston – Golden State needs some other guys to step up. That's the problem. Like Steph has played pretty good. I'm gonna say just short of great, but he's played darn good. I thought about this too. Think about this.
He's had great in spots though, but hasn't carried it all the way through a game.
Correct. Hear me out on this. I just thought about this one right before I left school today. When you think of like the great players historically, right? So I'm thinking like even LeBron, Kobe, Michael. Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas. Magic doesn't so much fit into this one, and the Lakers were a very different team than kind of all. They were so talented.
Dirk?
No. Here where I'm saying where I go with this. These dominant one-man kind of guys. They all because Steph. We're saying Steph is the guy now. Like there's no more KD on this team. You're the man. You have to be the man to win this championship, right? All of those guys I just mentioned were either all the time or when necessary, great defenders. Like LeBron, especially in playoffs, when LeBron needed when Cleveland or Miami, when they needed to stop, LeBron locked you up. Like you weren't going to be the one that was going to score. Somebody else was going to. I mean, how many years in a row was Michael Jordan on first team all defensive team? Like when he needed to stop, he didn't care if it was the point guard. It could have been Gary Payton. It didn't matter who it was.
Patrick Ewing.
I'm going to put a lock on you right now. And when Jordan wanted to lock you down, and Kobe was the same when he was in his prime. Kobe would lock you down. Even Larry Bird. Michael Jordan used to say all the time, the guy I had the hardest time scoring against was Larry Bird. And I find that fascinating, first of all, because we don't think of Bird as like number one, a great defensive player, but certainly not like super athletic to stop Michael Jordan. But he used to say like Bird was one of the hardest guys I had to score on. And when you would watch playoff games back then, Bird would just, when it was time, he wasn't like a consistently great defensive player, but when it was time, especially the last 5 minutes of a game, he could lock you down. Steph doesn't do that. Steph's not locking anybody down ever. Like that's just not part of his game. He's a shooter and a distributor, and that's it. And without Kevin Durant being there, I'm looking at him like, he doesn't have that other end of the court stuff like all these other superstars, these megastars had. And that's why you can't put him into their class. You can't talk about him as one of these like top 5, top 10 all-time greats because he doesn't have that other side of the ball when it's necessary. Like it doesn't even have to be all the time, but it really needs to be there when you need that one stop. Can you lock a guy down? That's not your guy. Klay Thompson has more of that, frankly, than Steph does. So that was one thing that I thought, I'm like, shit.
Yeah, it's good.
You know what I mean? It's a little different. So I wanted to ask you this about it. Do you as you've seen 3 games or at least most of the games and the highlights and all this kind of stuff, and you're kind of watching the flow and seeing how this is going, would you change your prediction at this point?
Yeah, I would.
You would go with Boston?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You?
I thought about it because I don't want to get too caught up in any one game, but
I just don't. I tell you that Mark Williams makes a big difference, man, in the middle.
And he's more unique. He's the one kind of unicorn on the two teams. Like,
and
they
I
both
think
have scorers, they both have shooters, they both have defenders, they both have that Marcus Smart kind of. They're the only ones that have that guy. You know what I mean?
I tell you, who needs to step up for the Warriors too is Wiggins. He's been a fucking ghost.
Yeah.
And
now he's supposed to be that lockdown defender, but because it's like, well, who do you put him on? You put him on Jaylen Brown. This is what I said. Like we've talked about this. There's just more options on Boston. You know, and it's not like Tatum had a bad game. He had a good game. You know, But Jaylen Brown is different. Jaylen Brown. So Tatum is just kind of like a natural great player, but he doesn't have. Even when you watch him, he doesn't look like the killer that some of these other guys are. Jaylen Brown actually does have that look.
I know.
He has that look like I want to just stab you in the face right now. Like I'm going to make this basket. I'm going to make you pay for this shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like he just has that killer look about him. He's not the player that Tatum is talent-wise. He's not, quite there, but he certainly has that mentality. He has that Kobe Bryant, Jordan mentality.
Could this thing be over by the time we do this next week? What?
It's interesting you said that because
Game 4 is Friday. Game 5 is Monday, and game.
They won't play on Sunday. Thursday. They won't play on Sunday.
No, I think this is the only time in the series it's only a 1 day gap. Because I think they go, which is right, because now they're still in the same city.
But this is a problem that the NBA has to really consider because your ratings suck.
Friday, Monday, Thursday.
What the hell did I hear?
It takes fucking 2 weeks to play a final.
Oh, what was it? That what got better ratings than the NBA finals game?
Don't tell me College World Series softball.
No, that would be something. That would be devastating. No, it was something that I was like, wow, no kidding. This is the NBA Finals. This is like their marquee. This is their Super Bowl. Dude, it's really hard to keep people interested. Number one, when you put 2 days in between games. And number two, the game last night started at 9 o'clock. Like, most people are not
on the East Coast.
On the East Coast. Yeah. Come on, man. You can't keep doing that. That's just not right. Anyway, I don't know if I would change I'll tell you one thing, though. If Boston wins this next game, you got to say it's over, right? 3-1. They got to win 1 out of the next 3 games.
I would definitely say. Yeah, well, listen, Curry's ankle's barking too now. That's a factor. Curry.
Is that what he? Okay.
That's a factor. But yeah, if Boston wins this one, I think it's a good night, Irene. But, listen, Warriors are championship pedigree. They're not going to go down without a fight. So.
Oh, no. That's why I don't want to get caught up.
Yeah, you just asked me how the flow was and how the games looked to me. And that's why I'm thinking.
I agree. Because here's what this is why I would want to change my pick. So game 1 was, it's even. So you just kind of like, you're both fighting for the game. And Boston won. And then the second game is kind of like you looked at it. It was like Boston mailed it in. They didn't even play any of their starters.
They're on house money now. Whatever. Yeah.
And it's like they didn't play anybody with 10 minutes left in the game. They bailed. And then now it's even again, and they win. They win again. Now, like Golden State is the desperate team again. So that's why I'm like, I'm not so. I don't want to be so quick as to say, Boston, when it matters, they do it, and they're home. They haven't been the best home team as it is. And desperation, when you got great teams, historically great teams in a desperate mode, I'm not a big fan of betting against that, man.
By the way, I want to address
when the games matter, Boston has been not when they matter, but you know what I'm saying. Like in even matchups, when it's tighter, they tend to win the game.
I want to address one thing before we move on. Did you hear Clay in the post game about like Boston fans? They're classy. They're cursing little kids. It's a late night. They should be home. But Draymond goes to the post game with his son next to him. He's throwing F-bombs around. Yeah. Like Clay, come on.
Yeah. The lack of self-awareness is quite stark. It is interesting. Anyway, all right. Had some interesting developments this week with the PGA / LIV tour. The LIV tour is the Saudi Arabian tour. Yeah. Now the tour is not going to be in Saudi Arabia. Is it only European though, or is it only Eastern Hemisphere? We'll call it, I guess. Yep. Okay, so it is going to be over. It's interesting that they got some of these players. I was just thinking about this. I'm like, wow, just because it's a Saudi tour doesn't mean they can't have tournaments in America, but they're not. Is that what you're telling me?
I don't think so.
Wow, that's really interesting because these guys have made decisions to play in a tour that's not in America. Like they have to take off. Now, Europeans do this all the time.
And you have to commit to a certain amount, I think, too. I think that's
So let's talk about at least who it was first. Who are the big names that we know now are going to be on this LIV tour?
So Big Phil, after months of bullshit around him, finally commits. That's their golden goose, as they say, for Norman. Sure. That was the guy he wanted. Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed, Bryson DeChambeau, Ian Poulter, Lee Westwood, Louis Oosthuizen, and Sergio Garcia are the big names that I saw. Right before we went on here, I just saw a headline, I think, that what's the guy? Bubba Watson.
Yeah, I thought I saw that.
Matt
I wasn't
Wolf,
sure.
I think, might be on the fence now, committing as well.
They must be throwing some serious cash at
the money's got. I think it's guaranteed, and then no matter what you win, you keep your earnings that way too. Which is, well, I don't know what kind of the pot is. I don't know what the.
Well, dude, the Saudis have pretty much unlimited funds.
Yeah, you're right. This is so. The PGA Tour will not miss Phil. You know, he's kind of been out on an island by himself for a while now.
I don't know that that's true, but go ahead.
You know why they won't? Because Tiger's not going to play every match either. So the two of them were better when they were playing.
Phil's a big draw, though.
He is, but it's been a while.
I mean, he won the PGA Championship last year.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything since. I think he missed every cut in the majors.
You might be right. Yeah, you might be right. But when people see he's there, it's a be draw, especially for TV ratings.
And listen, I like him out. When I start playing golf, I'm lefty. I see a guy lefty, and he's a people's person, like a
that's what I'm saying.
Champion.
Fans love him. Yeah, the fans
DJ's so weird. He won't be missed. Reed's a prick. He won't be missed.
I don't think Dustin Johnson will be missed. I'm actually just surprised that he left.
Yeah.
I mean, he's basically one of the top 5 players in the PGA Tour, and for him to just take off like that, I really was surprised. Again, you're not playing in the United States.
He made a comment where good, now I don't have to play golf the rest of my life. So I don't even know if he's in love with the game of golf.
Said?
Yeah. Wow, he wants to play like 8 more years and go vanish into a cabin in Montana. I don't know.
Okay.
Bryson's
who am I to tell you what
Bryson's
to do
interesting to me.
Because he was becoming that villain on the tour, which draws attention.
Yeah. And then all the other guys on the list are a little older. I think they're in their 40s.
But their names, like Louis Oosthuizen is a name. I mean, there's a guy we talked about, like, is always on the leaderboard on the majors. You know, how many times he's come in second place in majors and shit like that. It's unbelievable, right? And so what we need to point out, which we neglected to, many of you may know, but the PGA has now come out and say these guys will not be allowed to play in any PGA events.
Not even majors.
Well, we'll see about that.
Yeah,
because we had a listener comment asking, "Do you think that's fair?" And I said, "Okay, so is that fair? Number one, and then the question becomes, is that real?" Okay, so these are two different. Like, will it stand? We'll say, okay, will that really stand? So number one, is that fair? I have an argument for both. The argument against it being fair, like saying that it's not fair, there are players on a European tour that play PGA events. They're full-time European tour, but they either can play in majors or they can pick and choose to come over here and play. So that seems like why ban them from PGA Tour events? That seems silly. Although I believe, now I'm not certain of this, but I believe that they're kind of like a tandem. Like the European Tour is connected with the PGA. I don't know that for sure, but I think, or they already have an agreement.
Yeah.
Which then makes me say, well, why can't you just have an agreement with these guys? These guys can play, say, eight tournaments or whatever the minimum is that you can play on this Saudi tour, and then you play the rest of them on a PGA. So you could say, well, there's evidence that you can. And I said the other side of it is, if back in the day, and this is going back some time, but if you played in the ABA, like Dr. J and a bunch of those guys played in the ABA, they weren't allowed to play in the NBA. Like, there's some exclusivity. Like, if you played in the USFL, you weren't allowed to play in the NFL, right? You had a contract with that team, so that's where you played. Like, you didn't have a choice. They didn't let you play both. So I get it on both sides. I certainly get why the PGA would say, it's either us or them. Like, make a decision. I don't know that that's smart. I don't know why you wouldn't want, some of these names. And Dustin Johnson isn't the most engaging interviewer, but watching him play, the guy's fucking phenomenal. Like, it is what it is. And golf, if nothing else, is very much a viewing sport. Like, it's
and not only that, the golf's made on history.
Yeah.
So if you're watching,
these guys go.
If you're watching the game with Peter, you're watching the Masters with Peter Richard in 6 years.
Yeah.
And he goes and they show the last 10 years winners. And
says,
Dustin Johnson wins 21 under or by 21 strokes over, and Peter Richard goes, "Who's that guy, Dad? How come I haven't heard that name before?" Now, like, you kind of ruin your legacy with that if you can't play in majors.
But I blame the PGA because they won't allow it. They're saying they won't. You're suspended.
Yes.
I think it's a mistake. Do I understand why they're doing it? I kind of understand it, but I think it's a mistake. I can do both. You know what I mean? I can understand why they're doing it, because
they're going to have to adjust it if they lose.
They're going to put the pressure on there. Yeah, they want to put pressure on these guys to stay with them, and they're not. So I have to believe that at some point, probably not the first year. I'll get to when I believe they'll probably start to loosen their grip on this. The other thing is, like, will it stand? First of all, the USGA has already said you don't get to tell us who was invited to a USGA because it's a separate organization. The USGA is not the PGA. It's their own organization. It's their tournament. They do whatever they want. And they've already said that these guys are invited to play in the U.S. Open. Okay, which Phil, what the hell? He doesn't care about any other tournament at this point other than the U.S. Open. Now, it still would be a shock if he could win the U.S. Open because is he 50 now? 50, 51? Yeah. So, like, it would still be a shock. But he did win the PGA Championship last year, so it's not totally out of the realm. But they're basically saying you don't get to tell us that we can't invite the biggest stars in the game and former champions of a major tournament that they can't play in our tournament. My guess is they won't be the only ones to say that. The Masters, you think the Masters is going to not invite Phil Mickelson, who has, 3 green jackets?
Yep.
He's got 3. Dustin Johnson, who has 1. Patrick Reed, who has 1.
Louis, who's in the top 5 every damn year.
Every goddamn year. Like, you
Sergio's got 1.
Sergio's got 1. You think they're not going to invite those guys?
I know.
Come on, there's no way that's happening, dude. So maybe the smaller tournaments, and I almost even got to believe, like, you're going to tell Jack Nicklaus, like, who's allowed to come and not come to his tournament. You're going to tell me that the Players' Champ, you're not going to have the best players in the world at the Players' Championship? Because you have to put it into some kind of context. It's not just like, well, they're not playing and that's the end of it. No, every single day leading up to and during that tournament, you're going to have news outlets that are saying, do you wish Phil was here? Do you wish Dustin was here? Do you wish Patrick Reed was here? Are you missing Louis Oosthuizen? Are you missing this one? You know what I mean? Like, every single day. And you're going to have, maybe you have a guy on the leaderboard that we've never heard of before. And it's like, wow, he wouldn't have won this thing if these guys were here. And it's like, and it tarnishes. I think sooner or later, they're going to change their mind on that. And they're going to open that up. They're going to have to. These are some big name players, dude. These are some big name players.
Now, I know it's 54 holes. It's like a team event? There's some events that are team events.
I genuinely don't know.
And I
tried looking it up.
And there's no TV contract yet either. So there's a lot of.
I don't think that'll be a problem when you start to consider who they have.
No, I agree with that. But joining something like that with all these question marks is a little interesting to me.
When is this supposed to start? Like, in
there's one weeks? Right now. I think it started today. I think they.
Was it today? Was it this week?
Yeah, they teed off today because they showed Phil. We're in a Masters windbreaker.
Was he really? That's so funny. What's interesting, too, I'm curious to know, and if I knew that it started today, I probably would have checked it out. The Golf Channel.
Well, you were principal today, sir. So.
Yeah, I had a lot of work to do today. Keep that place in shape. Will these tournaments be shown on a Golf Channel? Because if they're overseas, then they'll be in the mornings.
Yeah, but they don't have the contract like the European Tour does. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, you just answered your own question.
So, like, who's watching?
Somebody.
Is there somewhere to find it on TV?
The stands are pretty packed today.
So you did see it?
Yeah, that's why I saw Phil with the Masters thing on.
So where did you see it? Or did you see it on Twitter? Okay. But we don't know where you can find it on TV.
Correct, because I don't think there's an outlet yet for it on TV.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Right? That's what I mean. It's
they don't even need the TV money. They're just like, here's $100 million. That oil money is good shit. That oil money's good shit.
Did you have a game for me this week, sir? You said you had something?
That was the 5 key. Oh, no, I did. Where the hell is it? We'll do it next week.
All right.
It was a Would You Rather. And
yep.
I left it.
You are so unorganized as a podcast host, but a principal.
Yeah, I had to actually do my job.
Oh, you suck. All right, no problem.
Wait a second. I got it. It's not a Would You Rather. It's what's more likely. What's more likely? So we're going back to the NFL. What's more likely? Okay. So number one, what's more likely? And this is within the next 3 years. That the Houston Texans play in the Super Bowl or Bill Belichick is out at New England.
How many years?
Next 3 years.
What's more likely?
What's more likely? Houston in the – now, this doesn't mean you're making a prediction that one of them's going to happen. It's just what do you think is more likely?
I would say Belichick is gone.
You do think so?
Yeah, I think that team is not very talented.
You don't believe in Davis Mills as much as you pretend to believe in him.
Well, dude, Super Bowl's a big deal, bro. It's not like it's right.
But not win it. They just have to play in it.
And 3 years is not very long.
I tend to agree with you, and here's why even more.
God.
Because Houston would have to go through, like, Kansas City, San Diego, Denver. Like, there's
Indianapolis, Tennessee, Buffalo, the New York Jets.
Baltimore, the New York Jets. Good point. In the next 3 years? Yeah, man.
Are we friends again? Look at that. See that? Look at that.
No, because you stopped short of actually saying it.
Because I wanted to make you wipe your pants off for you.
What's more likely in the next 3 years? That Miami wins a national title or USC wins a national title? I bring this up because both are quite happy about their new head coaches. Not
even close for me.
I know what you're going to say. USC.
Yeah, USC.
I'm not so sure. So sure.
Although I do have
You're the guy who told me that what's-his-face is overrated.
I did.
But now you got to win him a national title?
I had him overrated in Oklahoma.
All right, so here's an interesting one. Which is more likely by the end of 2023?
Okay.
That Urban Meyer is coaching or Jay Wright is coaching?
Doesn't matter where.
Doesn't matter where.
That's a phenomenal question, Coach.
Urban Meyer is coaching or Jay Wright is coaching?
So this is the year Urban Meyer sits out.
Yep.
And
Jay Wright is doing TV.
Until Florida goes 3-9 or for LSU goes 4-8. Or Ryan Day shits his pants against Michigan again and Urban Meyer.
Hopeful thinking.
Or Jay Wright. Oh man, I could see Jay. The fact that Jay Wright didn't shut the door, and like a week after he retired.
A week after, he's like, yeah, I'm open. And everybody was like, I don't think this guy ever wants to coach in the NBA. He's a Villanova lifer. He loves Villanova.
So,
and a week later,
here's why I'm going to say Jay Wright. Because both options are open to him. He didn't piss anybody off. He didn't embarrass himself at either level. He's a class act. Urban Meyer, I think, is shut down from the NFL permanently. And I think if you ask a lot of athletic directors, they don't want to touch Urban Meyer at this point.
Dude, I think you make a fucking great point. Jay Wright is in a position where if he wants a job, if it's open and he wants it, he'll get it.
Yep.
That goes for NBA or college.
Yep.
If something comes open, it doesn't matter where. Let's say the Knicks job came open. I just thought about that. It's not a terrible idea. If the Knicks job came open, which might by the end, you know what I mean? Which might by the end of next season.
Especially if an agent calls somebody quietly and goes,
it's East Coast. It's close to where he already is. Like,
oh my God.
If he wanted the job, they wouldn't even interview anybody else. Like, it's your job if you want it, dude. Right. And they'll back up the Brinks truck. And that goes for any job in college too. Like if I don't know. If the Duke job didn't work out.
How about Kansas? Bill Self retires.
If he retired, they wouldn't even interview anybody else. If he said, I'd like that. If his agent was like, Jay's real interested, they're like, okay, what's the number? That's it.
What time does he want to fly out tomorrow?
Yeah, that's it. It's over. So you make a great point. Urban Meyer would have to be willing to take a subpar, we'll say, job compared to what he's done. I don't think he's getting an LSU.
Like a Rick Pitino, maybe a little bit upscale than that. But
yeah, I think he's going to have to go back to like a Utah, like a second tier, like a Wake Forest or something like that. Like, not that there's anything wrong with those schools, but you know what I'm saying. Like for them to get an Urban Meyer would be a big deal. Plus, he really didn't do anything that bad other than like the ass palming. He just was a miserable failure.
If you talk to the Jaguars front office, there's a lot of stories going on.
I know, that's true.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was just like mistreatment of players, which in college, verbally mistreating them. I don't know. He wasn't like diddling them or anything like that. So I wanted to throw this at you because the original question was going to be Urban Meyer or Coach K. Would that have changed your decision?
Nah, yeah, I think K's done.
You do?
Unless he's going back to Duke, which I don't think is going to happen. He's done. He's not going to go anywhere else. Now, what's he going to go to West Point and coach fucking military?
I didn't know if he might consider an NBA job because he has been the head coach of the Olympic team.
At 76, I think that ship has sailed.
Okay, he's a young 76. Okay, so my next one, number 4 here. LeBron ends his career as a Laker or LeBron ends his career as a Knickerbocker? What's more likely?
Knicks.
Really? Good for you. I actually think other than Lakers.
Yeah, well, you're going to give me that option.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. And I think the Knicks are a real option.
It would be so LeBron to join the Knicks at 43.
I don't disagree. I think you're 100% right about that. And I don't think he's going to finish a Laker. And I don't think the Lakers want him there any longer. They'll tolerate him for another year, I think, but they don't want him there.
What a headache.
Yeah. Let me ask you this about that. Do you think it's been worth it for the Lakers to bring him in?
Yeah, because they got a ring. When you got a ring, right? That's it. Like. Yeah,
I thought the same thing, but you said you nailed it perfectly. There is a fucking headache. Ooh. He's a pain in the balls.
And the fact that, and then the GM bullshit he tries to pull, bringing in Russ, getting rid of this guy, that guy. Yeah,
it's interesting. 2 out of 4 seasons, they're losing seasons.
Yeah,
1 season in a bubble, they win a championship, and weird. Yeah. Okay, last one. Lamar Jackson, and this is in the next 2 years, I think it would have to be 2 or 3 years. What's more likely, Lamar Jackson is a Raven or Lamar Jackson is a Miami Dolphin?
Raven.
You know that he's stopped all talks with the Ravens right now.
You know he doesn't have an agent?
He's got his mother.
Yeah.
That's I don't know how wise that is.
I don't think it's very wise.
I'm sure he trusts her, but
yeah.
I think there's a real chance that he doesn't want to be there anymore. I think that they offered him a pretty good contract and he turned it down.
What's the holdup?
This is what we don't know. He just kind of shut it down. They did offer him a serious contract in the $40 million a year range and he kind of turned it down. So I don't know if it's just money or that's why I asked the question because I've heard rumors that he kind of wants out. And it kind of makes sense.
He's from Florida, right?
I believe so. And, the Tua thing, who knows if they're thrilled with him. And that could be an interesting trade, with Tua possibility. But, I heard rumors about
How about Lamar to Arizona?
I don't think Arizona would make that move. To move Kyler for him, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't think they would make that move.
What if Kyler demanded out?
Then I think
he doesn't get the money he wants. Yeah.
Then I think they would. You got to consider all options at that point.
Yeah.
I have such conflicting thoughts on these player demands. Like when a player demands to leave. So the conventional wisdom is you're under contract. You don't have to move a guy, so he has to stay. And the Colin Cowherd thinking is why would you want a guy on your team that's unhappy? Why would you want a miserable player on your team? You're never going to get the best out of him. And I do waffle back and forth between those two things. You look at the Aaron Rodgers situation. It's really, do you really just want to keep this guy? Because, what has he given you in the last 10 years? You haven't won Super Bowls, but yet we call him one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Is it really worth the headache? And now you're giving him $50 million a year, eating up so much salary cap that you can't, field. You can't keep your best wide receiver, who some think is the best receiver in the game. I do waffle back and forth on if a guy makes a demand, do you move him? Part of me really does say, I don't want a guy here that doesn't want to be here. So let me just try to get the best I can. And then part of it is dude, you signed a fucking contract. Stay and finish your contract.
I am so curious to see. I think Adams is going to be pretty good with Carr. They played in college together. Carr's a top 10 quarterback. We could both agree with now, I think 10, 12. I'm curious to see if Andy Reid hit this right on the head with Tyreek Hill, getting him out before it got bad. Or that's
there's an argument. I've made this argument so many times with Drew Brees that Drew Brees guys come in, receivers come in, and they put up monster numbers with Drew Brees, and then they leave and go to other teams and they put up average numbers.
Yeah.
And you can say this about receivers that played for Tom Brady. They played for Brady. They put them on like Deion Branch or some of these guys. Then they go play in Seattle and they can't even get 50 catches. And then they want to come back to New England. And you do have to wonder how much of Devontae Adams' numbers are because your quarterback is Aaron Rodgers, right? Now, I think Derek Carr is a poor man's Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's Aaron Rodgers, but I think he's like an 85% version of Aaron Rodgers. Now, that's a big drop, but I think he's pretty good. So I think Adams will still put up good numbers. But will he put up like best receiver in the league numbers? I don't know. And this was the argument with Tyreek Hill, right? Like, yeah, you're fucking incredible with Patrick Mahomes pulling the trigger and Andy Reid calling the plays, but how good are you with Tua and a rookie head coach calling the plays, right? So like it's different.
So here's one thing that Adams has positively, and then one thing he has negatively. Negatively, he doesn't have Rodgers. But he's got a great – I'm sorry. Tyreek Hill with Miami. He's got a great number 2 now with Waddle next to him. He never had anything close to that in Kansas City. The negative with Tua, and Gesicki's not anywhere close, even though we like him, to Travis Kelce.
No. He's a good receiver.
The weather's better.
For sure.
It's not going to be freezing cold that much because he's been pulling some shit last couple years in cold weather. But, dude, Mahomes to Tua?
Yeah, I mean, we just had Mahomes off the draft list of top 5 quarterbacks because we know.
Yeah.
You could say he's the best quarterback in the league right now. So, I mean, this was kind of like a thing even with Peyton Manning, when Peyton Manning was playing. You could say this with all the greats, right? Like when you're a great quarterback, you make these guys – it helps to have that guy pulling the trigger and getting you the ball, always putting it in the right spot, making the right decisions, or sometimes just giving you a shot at making a catch that you'll just outplay the corner. We'll see. Like we said, Tua went on that 7-game winning streak last year. Very friggin' impressive. But that was also after a 7-game losing streak that he was also part of. So, we'll see. But
anyway, what a weird year they had. That's
very strange. I think he was hurt for a couple of those games.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He was out for a handful of those games.
And then the coaching thing, and then
it was a lot of weirdness. So, all right, I'm glad you reminded me of that, dude. And I forgot that I did have a second sheet here. Did we hit everything?
Yep.
I think we did hit everything. What do you got for 69s?
69, number 4.
That's a sexy number.
Number 4. I got 4 for you, by the way. Number 4.
Fantastic.
1989 All-Pro, 02 Pro Bowl. Eagles Ring of Honor tackle, Wolverine All-American, and former Pennsylvania Congressman John Runyon Sr. Number 3, 3-time Super Bowl champ, 2-time Pro Bowler. One of my favorite offensive linemen, as you can get a favorite offensive lineman. A chili innovator, ESPN analyst, former Redskin and Broncos guard Mark Schlereth.
Oh, Stank.
Number 2, 2-time All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, Packers offensive tackle and Aaron Rodgers' buddy, David Bakhtiari.
He can put down a beer like nobody's business.
Oh, could he ever? And number 1, I think this guy's a future Hall of Famer. His numbers for about a 5-year stretch were unbelievable. 4-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowl, 2-time sack leader, former Chief, Viking, and Bear defensive end Jared Allen.
Very good. In the news this week, so this poor bastard was in the airport and he's in a wheelchair. And he gets stopped by, Homeland Security, and they stop the guy and they start searching him. It's like, well, what's this guy's name? Mike Prado, Homeland Security investigator, was asked, like, what happened? And he said, he says his answers didn't match up. His physical purported handicap did not match up. That was a telltale sign that there was something suspicious. What was it that was suspicious? Well, he was carrying in the wheelchair 23 pounds of cocaine.
Wow.
So the reason they spotted him is because what he said was wrong with him didn't jive with what looked like was wrong with him. And when they investigated, not a pound, not 2 pounds, 5 pounds, 23 pounds of coke. So, yeah, he's not doing real well now. So the moral of this story is if you're going to be transporting coke via wheelchair on your next flight, try to keep it under 10 pounds. All right? Good idea. Another one in the books, my man. You did it.
All kinds, my friend.
The Jets are going to stomp Denver in that game. I can't wait. I tell you what, man. Here's what I will tell you.
Why don't we go? Let's go. Let's dig deep in your pockets, Coach. Let's go.
Not the worst idea. It's not the worst idea. Here's what I will tell you. This is the sacrifice I'm willing to make for that game. I would rather win that game and lose every other game the rest of the season than go 9-8.
Why? Just because they're honoring the 97 team?
Yep. Because they chose to do it against the Jets.
But you you can't take that Super Bowl away from them. They already won it. Who gives a
It's
shit
not about
the
taking a Super Bowl.
Who gives a shit about
disrespect. It's like who's on our schedule that's a guaranteed win so that it doesn't take away from the Ring of Honor championship.
You know what I'm gonna do right now?
You gonna look at the rest of the schedule?
Yeah, I want to really stick it in your ass here. I hope they play the fucking Jaguars at home.
I mean, I get it. They got a tough division. But, wouldn't you think it'd be proper to do it against a division rival? Like, what are you saying? You have no confidence against your other division rivals?
Oh, boy.
Is that what you're saying? Maybe Russell Wilson isn't as – oh, here we go. Let me hear this shit. Go ahead. Do they have the Jags at home?
No, they don't, but they got just as bad.
Worse. Houston Texans at home.
Oh, beautiful. Week 2, September 18th. You can fight all the bullshit.
Nice weather. Get out
of the way.
Nice weather.
But they chose late October against the New York Jets.
Was it the Jags week 2?
No, Texans week 2.
Texans week 2.
Jaguars are on the road, but that's in London, and that's after you guys. So.
That is such disrespect, man. I want that game more than any other.
I got to be honest with you. I would have rather done it against the Texans. That's just to. Yeah,
I think even for the fans, don't you want an early season, nice weather, sunny out?
Definitely.
Bastards. Fucking bastards.
And I got to tell you, listen, a lot could happen. We just talked about that last week and the week before, but the Jets on paper, night and day against than the Texans. So I don't know.
Listen, I'm not saying they're a playoff team, but I think they're improved.
I think they sweat more in that game than they do against the Texans, is my point.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm saying. I'm
not
trying to say.
Agree.
Well, yeah, I agree. I am an unbiased observer here.
I'm trying to make you feel better, but don't be.
I feel a little better. I appreciate it. I'm less mad at you. I don't know that I was ever
mad at me at all. That's what I mean.
Because the only reason I was mad at you because I knew your intention behind showing it to me. You weren't like, hey, isn't this awesome? Denver's going to honor the 17. No, you're like, no, they're fucking doing it against the Jets, dude. What do you think about that?
Like I
said
earlier.
That's why you did it.
I sent it because it was the Broncos. That's all. Broncos.
I'm sure it had nothing to do with the Jets.
What is because you're a Jet fan, shithead?
Yeah, and you're jamming it up my ass.
You're just so used to getting it jammed in your ass, you feel like if the wind blows, something's getting poked in your anus.
Oh, my God. For Scott Bracey on Pete Colasano, you've been listening to Bump and Run. We'll catch you guys next week.
Go Broncos. Later.
Dick.
That was a good one.
All right. I don't mind these like hour and 16 minutes.
Yeah, we got an hour and 19 out of it. Nice.
I don't mind that. It's a good spot.
Peter Richards still playing baseball or no?
They just finished. Dude, I wish you could have seen him. So they had a playoff game on Tuesday. And the intensity.
Like it ended earlier this year, right? Or no?
No, I think it's just about when it goes. Because now they do like All-Stars and travel ball and all this kind of stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
We did All-Stars last year. That's why that went into July. That's probably what you're thinking of. The intensity that he went into this game with. So there's a friend of his was on the other team, and he didn't want him to win because, he doesn't want him to be able to jam it up his ass, like, oh, man, we beat you. I've never seen him so focused, like so intense, so locked in a game. He made a great play at second base on a nice hot shot to him. He fielded it really nice. And I was saying, just stay down. Like I saw it going towards him, and I was just like, stay down. And he stayed down on it, fielded it nice, made a nice throw to first. And for the first 3 innings, he was the only one that actually got a bat on the ball. Everyone else struck out. Like he ended up grounding out. Like kid, of course, this kid makes this beautiful dude. It was a gorgeous play, by the way. So Peter Richard hits it kind of up the middle on the second base side. Now these kids, there's all the travel ball players aren't playing anymore. They play only travel. So these are all I'll say good to mediocre to bad players. There's no great players anymore. So this kid's a decent player, but he's not great. Up the middle, sliding, one of those the knee goes down, sliding backhand, jumps up and throws Peter Richard out on first. I'm like, dude, That kid has never made that play in his life, and he's got to do it against Peter Richard. He's the only kid that actually got a bat on the ball here.
Oh.
But the fact that he hit it and nobody else was even – he's not great. So the fact that he hit it, I'm like, this kid is really locked in today. I've never seen him like that. Dude, the game was 0-0 going into the fifth inning. Like, the pitching was fantastic. The defense, guys are making catches in the outfield, which they don't normally make. Like, it was a 0-0 game, and the kid on the other team that my son didn't want to lose to, he ends up getting a game-winning double that drove in 2 runs.
Come on.
I swear to God. And they end up winning the game 2-0.
I hope you took
my guys lost.
I hope you got snow cones or ice cream.
Well, I'm not the coach of the team anymore, so that's not my job.
No, just your son, not the whole team.
We went to McDonald's.
Oh, that counts.
Yeah, he enjoyed it. He was not happy. He didn't cry, but he wasn't happy.
Well, that's good. That's a good sign of competitive Calciano right there.
There's something starting to come out of him. I hope it's not too late, but there's a little something. He's got 3 years before high school, so that higher level starting to come out. I don't know if he's got enough to go all the way with it, but he's got a long way to go. But it's there. I've said this all along, like, the genetics are there. It's whether or not you bring it out. We'll see. But this is the first year he's like really he improved. Like, he played first base a lot this year.
So next year he goes to the bigger field?
No, this year he did.
Oh, this year.
So he's one of the young ones on the bigger field, and he played pretty well. He was playing first base a lot this year. Now, I was stunned because last year, my opinion, he was like a 50-50 prospect of whether or not he would catch it or drop it. You know what I mean? Like, if you threw the ball to him, like, half the time he caught it, half the time he dropped it.
Yeah.
So, like, to put him at first base and he never dropped the ball,
Is baseball his favorite sport right now?
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of all he plays. We do some golf over the summer right now, but he's mainly baseball.
Good.
He doesn't do wrestling anymore. So he'll play fall ball probably.
Good.
He likes playing fall. So it was a good season. Can't complain.
Yeah, it's a good sign. Good. Glad to hear it.
So, all right, dude. I'll have this ready for us tonight.
All right, buddy. Sounds good.
Talk to you later.
Later.